Back at it today with another season preview, as today we're going to be looking at the New York Mets. No real intro needed here, let's get right into the video. The Mets are coming off a great regular season in which they won 101 games and made the postseason for the first time since 2016. But in the postseason, they were a huge letdown as they were eliminated by the San Diego Padres in the wildcard round. But so far this offseason, they have been one of baseball's most active teams. They've picked up some key names in Justin Verlander, Jose Quintana, Kodai Senga, David Robertson, Tommy Pham, and Omar Narvaez. As for their subtractions, they've lost some important names. And those names include Jacob deGrom, Trevor Williams, Chris Bassett, Taijuan Walker, Seth Lugo, Michael Givens, and Dom Smith. So as I said, Steve Cohen and the Mets have been extremely busy this offseason. Now as for this offense last year, they were one of the league's best as they had a 744 team OPS which ranked 6th and 171 home runs which ranked 15th. Looking at this lineup, I want to start with Francisco Lindor, who was one of the best shortstops in baseball last year as he hit .270 with 26 home runs and 16 stolen bases. They also have one of the best power threats in baseball in Pete Alonso, who last year hit .271 with 40 home runs and an .869 OPS. Jeff McNeil is another stud in this offense as last year he won the National League batting title as he hit .326 with 9 home runs and an .836 OPS. In the outfield they have Brandon Nimmo, who last year hit .274 with 16 home runs and an .800 OPS. We can't forget about Starling Marte, who is one of the best speed-power combo outfielders in the game today as last year he hit .292 with 16 home runs and 18 stolen bases. They have another serviceable outfielder in Mark Canha, who last year hit .266 with 13 home runs and a .770 OPS. Over at the hot corner, I think they're going to roll with Eduardo Escobar, who last year hit .240 with 20 home runs. Behind the plate, it looks like Omar Narvaez is going to start out the year, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Francisco Alvarez, their top prospect, get called up mid-season and have a big impact. Another name I want to mention who is probably going to DH is Daniel Vogelbach. Last year, he hit .238 with 18 bombs. As for a few other names in this offense who could have an impact, we have their offseason pickup in Tommy Pham and one of their top prospects in Brett Baty. I also want to mention two top 100 prospects that they have in their offense who could have an impact this year, and Kevin Parada, he's a catcher who's the number 36 prospect in baseball, and also Alex Ramirez, an outfielder who is the number 96 prospect. So all in all, it is clear that this offense is one of the most talented in baseball, and I think it's safe to say it is going to be one of the league's best yet again this year. Now moving on to their pitching, similar to their offense, it was pretty good last season as they had a 3.57 team ERA which ranked 7th. Looking at their starting rotation, I want to start with their big offseason pickup in Justin Verlander, who is a reigning AL Cy Young winner who last year in 175 innings had a 1.75 ERA with 185 strikeouts. They also have another legitimate ace in Max Scherzer, who last year in 145 innings had a 2.29 ERA with 173 strikeouts. Carlos Carrasco is another name we can't forget about in this rotation as last year in 152 innings he had a 3.97 ERA. As mentioned earlier, they picked up Jose Quintana from the Cardinals, who was very good last year as in 166 innings he had a 2.93 ERA. I would also expect Kodai Senga to get some starts as last year in Japan he posted a 1.89 ERA in 148 innings. I also want to mention David Peterson when looking at this starting rotation because he was pretty serviceable for the Mets last year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some starts as well. So as a whole, this starting rotation is very talented. Yes, you are relying on Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, two very old pitchers, to carry the load, but I think they're going to be really good. Moving on to their bullpen, it was pretty good last year as it had a 3.55 bullpen ERA which ranked 10th. Looking at the closer position, it looks like it is set in stone as they have one of the best closers in baseball today in Edwin Diaz, who last year locked down 32 saves while posting a 1.31 ERA. As for some other arms in this bullpen, we have 6 who posted a sub 3.5 ERA last season in David Robertson, Drew Smith, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, Steven Nogasek, and Jeff Brigham. So not only does this bullpen possess one of the best closers in the game, they also have some depth, so I think it's safe to say they are going to be top 10 again this season. So now that we went through this roster top to bottom, let's take a look at the Mets' outlook record-wise and go over whether I think they can win a World Series or not. On paper, it's clear the Mets are one of baseball's best teams. They are built to compete, but we also have to consider the fact that they are in a very competitive division that also happens to include teams like the Braves and the Phillies. And I know the Mets did finish with 100+ wins last year, with both of those teams I just mentioned being competitive. So I'm not saying the Mets are going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to win 100 games again. Realistically, I think they're going to be right around 95 wins. I like the offense, I like the starting rotation and the bullpen. I just do have a slight concern with the starting rotation because Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer are going to be asked to carry such a heavy load being so old. Now for their World Series chances, I think they do have a chance. I think in the National League there are 4 legitimate World Series contenders, and that would include the Mets, the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Padres. And at least on paper, the Mets deserve to be in that list. They are stacked all around, and you could make some jokes here and there about, oh, how the Mets always choke year in and year out, and I get it, that does happen and it has happened in the past, but at least on paper, this team looks like one of the league's best, and I think they do have a good chance at winning a World Series. Let me know what you guys think of the Mets down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.